Rejection is a universal experience that touches every aspect of our lives. Whether it's a missed opportunity, the end of a relationship, or the failure to achieve a personal goal, rejection has a way of leaving us feeling defeated, uncertain, and often questioning our self-worth. In a world that often equates success with external validation, whether through the approval of others, societal recognition, or the attainment of specific outcomes, rejection can feel like a harsh judgment of our abilities or worth. However, Stoicism offers a profound shift in how we perceive rejection, guiding us to view it not as a reflection of failure, but as a valuable catalyst for growth, self-awareness, and deeper alignment with our true purpose. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies the idea that external events are beyond our control, but our reactions to them are entirely within our power. Rejection, from this perspective, isn't inherently good or bad. It simply is. It's our interpretation of rejection that shapes how we experience it and what meaning we assign to it. Stoicism teaches that setbacks, failures, and rejections are not signs of personal inadequacy, but rather opportunities for self-reflection and growth. By embracing rejection as a signal to reassess our goals, values, and approach, we can use it to refine our path, discover greater clarity, and ultimately live a more meaningful life. One of the key Stoic teachings is the distinction between what is within our control and what is not. We cannot control outcomes, approval, or external validation, but we can control our mindset, attitudes, and responses. When rejection occurs, it often reveals where we may have been chasing things beyond our control, or where our efforts were misaligned with what truly matters. Stoicism encourages us to let go of the desire for external validation and instead focus on what we can control: our actions, our effort, and our character. In doing so, rejection becomes an opportunity to align ourselves more deeply with virtue, wisdom, and purpose. Rejection, when embraced through a Stoic lens, forces us to confront our assumptions, refine our goals, and gain greater clarity about what truly matters. Rather than reacting to rejection with self-doubt and despair, we are invited to ask, what can I learn from this experience? How can I improve my approach? What values should I prioritize moving forward? These questions help us shift from being victims of rejection to active participants in our own growth. Rejection, in this light, becomes a mirror that reflects where we have the opportunity to grow, improve, and pursue our highest purpose. The Stoic mindset also teaches the importance of accepting life's inherent uncertainties. Rejection, while painful, is an inevitable part of existence. The Stoic accepts that setbacks and failures are not personal judgments, but rather natural occurrences on the path to self-improvement. By adopting this perspective, we no longer view rejection as a roadblock, but rather as a stepping stone, an essential part of the journey toward greater self-awareness, strength, and purpose. In this way, rejection serves as a guide, helping us clarify what truly matters to us and align our actions accordingly. Moreover, Stoicism emphasizes the idea of maintaining tranquility in the face of life's challenges. When rejection arises, it can be tempting to react with frustration, bitterness, or self-pity. However, Stoicism encourages us to cultivate a mindset of equanimity, remaining steady and calm regardless of external circumstances. By embracing rejection and acknowledging that it is beyond our control, we free ourselves from the burdens of resentment and self-blame. Instead, we focus on what we can control: our response, our efforts, and our pursuit of virtue. In doing so, rejection no longer defines our worth, but becomes a catalyst for deeper self-understanding and purpose. Rejection, from a Stoic perspective, also helps us detach from the opinions and expectations of others. In a culture that often equates worth with external validation, whether it's social approval, career success, or romantic acceptance, rejection can feel like a personal failure. But Stoicism teaches that our self-worth should not be dependent on external outcomes. The Stoic understands that true fulfillment comes from living in harmony with our values and virtues, not from the approval of others. By detaching from the need for external validation, we cultivate inner strength, resilience, and a sense of purpose that is not reliant on the opinions of others. Number 1. Detach and focus on what you control. Detachment and the focus on what is within our control are fundamental that provide a pathway to greater peace and resilience, particularly in the face of rejection. Rejection often evokes feelings of frustration, self-doubt, and disappointment, primarily because we tend to value external outcomes and the validation of others. When we experience rejection, whether it's the loss of a job, the end of a relationship, or a missed opportunity, it can feel as though our efforts and worth have been judged and found wanting. In such moments, it is natural to react with anger, sorrow, or a sense of inadequacy, particularly if we have placed a heavy emphasis on outcomes that we control. However, Stoicism teaches us to detach from outcomes and instead focus on what we can control, our actions, thoughts, and responses. By doing so, we are empowered to cultivate resilience and find meaning in situations that might otherwise seem discouraging. Rejection is often perceived as a sign of failure, especially when we invest too much in the idea of external validation. We may feel that we are only worthy if we achieve specific goals, gain or succeed according to certain standards. However, Stoicism helps us distinguish between what is within our control, our effort, our attitude, and our actions, and what is beyond our control, such as the opinions, judgments, and circumstances of. The Stoic understands that attempting to control outcomes is futile, as life's uncertainties are unavoidable. Rejection, therefore, is not a reflection of our personal inadequacy or worth, but rather an unavoidable part of existence. Once we embrace this truth, we are freed from the anxiety that rejection. Often we focus on what lies within our control, the choices we make, the effort we put forth, and our response to the situation. We regain our agency and peace of mind. The practice of focusing on what we control involves shifting our attention from the external world to our internal world, the realm of our thoughts, attitudes, and actions. In the face of rejection, this shift requires us to reflect on what we can do, rather than what we wish had happened. For instance, if we apply for a job and are rejected, we might initially feel that the rejection is a judgment of our worth or capabilities. But from a Stoic perspective, the job itself was never something we had control over. What we could control were our efforts in applying, the skills we brought to the table, and the mindset we carried through the process. By focusing on those elements, our preparation, our resilience, and our dedication to self-improvement, we take ownership of what truly matters. We cannot control whether we get the job, but we can control how we handle rejection, learn from it, and refine our approach in the future. Rejection, therefore, becomes less of a threat and more of a signal for growth. When we detach from the desire to control outcomes, we open ourselves to the possibility that rejection is not an end point, but a part of the journey toward greater self-awareness and improvement. Rejection may provide us with critical feedback about areas where we can grow or adapt. For example, if we are rejected from a job, we might ask ourselves, "What can I do differently next time?" Or, "What did I learn from this experience that can help me become more effective?" By shifting our focus from the rejection itself to the lessons we can glean from it, we not only become more resilient, but also more self-reliant. The Stoic understanding of control also emphasizes the importance of emotional discipline. When we become attached to outcomes, we often react emotionally, whether with frustration, disappointment, or self-criticism, when things do not go as we had hoped. However, Stoicism teaches that we cannot always control our circumstances, but we can control how we respond to them. By detaching from the need to control outcomes, we free ourselves from these emotional reactions and cultivate a calm, rational perspective. In this sense, rejection no longer has the power to disturb our peace of mind. Instead, we respond to rejection with equanimity, recognizing it as part of the natural order of life. Moreover, by focusing on what we control, we prioritize effort over results. The Stoic knows that effort is always within our power. We can control the actions we take, the attitude we adopt, and the virtues we uphold. These are the building blocks of a life well lived, regardless of external validation. Whether we succeed or fail, we retain our responsibility to act with integrity, diligence, and courage. The outcome of those efforts may not always be in our hands, but how we approach each task, each opportunity, is entirely within our control. Another crucial aspect of detachment is letting go of the attachment to what others think of us. External validation, the need for approval, recognition, or acceptance from others, often drives much of our desire for success. However, the Stoic reminds us that the opinions of others are not within our control. When we seek validation from others, we become vulnerable to rejection, as external judgments are always subject to change. A Stoic strives to cultivate self-worth that is not dependent on the external world. Instead of seeking validation from others, we focus on living virtuously, making decisions aligned with our values, and acting with integrity. By doing so, we no longer rely on others to validate our worth, nor do we allow their rejection to define us. Ultimately, the Stoic approach to rejection and control helps us build a life of resilience, clarity, and purpose. Detaching from the need to control outcomes allows us to focus on what truly matters, our thoughts, actions, and attitudes, and frees us from the constraints of external validation. Rejection no longer becomes a source of despair, but rather an opportunity for growth, self-reflection, and alignment with our values. In this way, rejection is no longer a barrier to success, but a stepping stone toward a more meaningful, peaceful, and purpose-driven life. Number 2. Reframe rejection as a sign of opportunity. Rejection is often viewed as a final judgment, a moment of failure, or an indication of our inadequacy. However, from a Stoic perspective, rejection should not be perceived as a barrier or a dead end, but rather as an opportunity for growth and self-improvement. The Stoic approach teaches us to reframe rejection not as something to be feared or resented, but as a sign that we are being redirected toward a more meaningful path. Rejection, when properly understood, becomes a necessary and valuable part of the journey toward achieving our goals, allowing us to gain wisdom, resilience, and clarity about what truly matters. One of the core principles of Stoicism is the distinction between what is within our control and what is not. We cannot always influence external outcomes, such as the opinions of others or the circumstances of life. What we can control, however, is our response to those external events. Rejection, therefore, should not be seen as a judgment of our worth or capabilities, but rather as an indication that we need to adjust our approach or seek new opportunities that align more closely with our goals. From this perspective, rejection is not a sign of failure, but a sign that we must refine our efforts and redirect our focus. Rejection forces us to confront uncomfortable truths, but these truths often serve as valuable feedback. Instead of dwelling on the perceived setback, the Stoic recognizes that rejection offers an opportunity to reflect on what went wrong, what can be improved, and how we might adapt our strategies moving forward. When we experience rejection, we often become consumed by self-doubt and disappointment, believing that our worth is tied to external validation. However, the Stoic reframes rejection as a necessary step in the pursuit of excellence. It is not a reflection of our intrinsic value, but rather an indication that we must recalibrate our approach to better align with our long-term goals. In the face of rejection, we are invited to explore new possibilities and opportunities that may not have been visible before. Often, we become so fixated on a single path, whether it's a job, a relationship, or a project, that we fail to consider other alternatives. Rejection challenges us to step back and examine what other doors might be opening. By reframing rejection as an opportunity, we shift our focus from what we lost to what new opportunities may be emerging. The Stoic understands that life is inherently uncertain and that setbacks are not meant to be ends, but rather opportunities to discover new directions. Rejection can also serve as a reminder of our own agency. While we cannot control the external results of our efforts, we do have control over how we respond to rejection. The Stoic recognizes that our response is where our power lies. We can choose to view rejection as a temporary setback or as an opportunity to explore different paths, hone our skills, and grow stronger. This perspective allows us to detach from the outcome, freeing us from the burden of perfection and external validation. Rejection becomes a moment of reflection and a call to action, urging us to pursue growth with renewed focus and determination. Furthermore, rejection often opens doors to opportunities that we might not have considered otherwise. It forces us to shift our priorities, re-examine our goals, and become more attuned to the factors that truly matter. From this standpoint, rejection can be viewed as a necessary step in the process of self-discovery and purpose. It provides us with the opportunity to reflect on what is truly valuable, leading us toward the realization that our worth is not defined by external outcomes, but by our internal response to those outcomes. Rejection also cultivates resilience. By reframing rejection as an opportunity, we develop the strength to persevere in the face of challenges. Resilience, according to Stoic philosophy, is the ability to maintain equanimity and peace in adversity. When we experience rejection and choose to see it as an opportunity rather than a defeat, we become more capable of enduring future setbacks. Rejection teaches us that setbacks are not the end of the road, but rather moments of growth, moments where we can build strength and character. The Stoic recognizes that adversity is a fundamental part of life, and learning to respond with resilience transforms rejection from a setback into a stepping stone toward greater personal development. In many cases, rejection also forces us to reflect on what truly matters to us. When we are met with rejection, we are often compelled to ask ourselves questions like, what did I really want from this outcome? Or is this pursuit aligned with my values and purpose? These introspective questions lead to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the goals we are pursuing. Rejection, therefore, becomes an opportunity for self-reflection and clarity, helping us identify what we truly seek and ensuring that we stay aligned with our purpose. The Stoic understands that life is inherently unpredictable, and the pursuit of goals often involves uncertainties that we cannot fully control. By accepting this reality, we are freed from the stress of attachment to outcomes. Instead, we can focus on living according to our values and virtues, acting with integrity and purpose regardless of the external results. Rejection then transforms from a source of anxiety into a catalyst for greater self-awareness, guiding us toward a life that is more intentional and meaningful. Ultimately, the Stoics' response to rejection is one of acceptance and proactive adjustment. By reframing rejection as an opportunity, we liberate ourselves from the chains of external validation and the fear of failure. Rejection becomes a sign that we are moving in the right direction, even if that direction is different from what we initially envisioned. Through this lens, we see that rejection does not diminish our worth or define our potential. Instead, it serves as a powerful reminder that there is always another path, another opportunity, and another chance to grow. Number 3. Embrace the role of the underdog. The concept of embracing the role of the underdog challenges the conventional notions of success, recognition, and validation. In a society that often glorifies winners, champions, and those who achieve rapid success, the underdog is often overlooked or dismissed. However, from a Stoic perspective, embracing the role of the underdog is not a position of weakness or inferiority, but rather an opportunity for growth, resilience, and self-mastery. The Stoic philosophy encourages us to accept our circumstances, regardless of their challenges, and to view setbacks and difficulties as pathways to self-improvement rather than obstacles to be feared. When we adopt the mindset of the underdog, we relinquish the attachment to external validation and the need to prove ourselves to others. Instead, we focus on the internal virtues, courage, perseverance, and humility that define our character. The underdog knows that success is rarely immediate or guaranteed. They accept that they must endure setbacks, face uncertainty, and continue to strive despite external doubts or rejection. Rejection, far from being a final judgment, is viewed as an opportunity to cultivate resilience and a deeper understanding of what truly matters. From this perspective, the underdog embraces rejection not as a reflection of their inadequacy, but as a sign that they are on the right path. The underdog is committed to the process of self-improvement, not the outcome. They understand that the pursuit of virtue, courage, patience, and discipline demands effort, struggle, and perseverance. Rejection is no longer something to be feared, but rather something to be accepted as a natural part of this journey. The underdog mindset focuses on what is within their control, their effort, their response, and their attitude, while letting go of the need for external validation or approval. It is the Stoic belief that our value is not determined by the outcomes we achieve, but by how we respond to life's challenges and setbacks. The underdog accepts their position, knowing that it does not define their worth. Instead, they understand that it is their effort, resilience, and character that will ultimately determine their success. In embracing the role of the underdog, we free ourselves from the unrealistic expectations of rapid success or easy triumphs. Life's uncertainties and rejections are not signs of failure, but signals to adapt and grow. The underdog recognizes that setbacks are opportunities to develop strength, wisdom, and self-awareness. By detaching from the desire for immediate results or external validation, they become more focused on what they can control: their mindset, their actions, and their growth. The underdog is not defined by the applause of others or the immediate recognition of their efforts. Instead, they find motivation in the challenge itself, finding meaning in the pursuit rather than the destination. The Stoic embraces the role of the underdog because they understand that it is through struggle and adversity that true character is forged. Moreover, the underdog recognizes the value of humility. They do not rely on the approval or admiration of others to affirm their worth. Instead, they accept their circumstances with equanimity and see rejection as an opportunity for reflection and self-improvement. Humility allows the underdog to recognize their limitations without being defeated by them. It compels them to seek self-mastery and improvement rather than succumbing to self-pity or resignation. The underdog mindset acknowledges that success is not something that is handed to them, but something they must earn through effort, resilience, and self-discipline. In this sense, rejection becomes a crucial part of the learning process. It provides the feedback necessary to refine one's approach, to identify weaknesses, and to develop strategies for growth. The underdog also embraces the idea of progress over perfection. They understand that success is rarely linear and often comes with setbacks, obstacles, and delays. Instead of fixating on the outcome, they focus on the consistent effort required to improve and move forward. Rejection serves as a reminder that the journey is not about perfection, but about perseverance. It forces the underdog to become comfortable with discomfort, uncertainty, and the notion that setbacks are not the end of the road, but opportunities to build resilience and fortitude. The underdog mindset teaches us to view rejection as a stepping stone toward improvement, rather than as an obstacle to be avoided. The Stoic underdog sees rejection as a sign of growth, rather than a reflection of failure. When we face rejection, it often prompts us to reevaluate our approach, our goals, and our values. The underdog understands that this process of self-reflection is essential for long-term success. They accept that rejection is an inherent part of any worthwhile pursuit, and they choose to respond to it with patience, persistence, and a commitment to self-improvement. In embracing the role of the underdog, we cultivate a mindset that is resilient, reflective, and focused on personal growth rather than external validation. The underdog recognizes that rejection is not something to be feared, but an opportunity to rise above circumstances and prove our worth through character and effort. Ultimately, the Stoic underdog views rejection not as a barrier, but as a catalyst for greater purpose. It is through the hardships, setbacks, and rejections that we are shaped and refined. The underdog understands that success is rarely handed to anyone. It is something that must be earned, and often through struggle and adversity. By embracing the role of the underdog, we develop a deeper sense of purpose and resilience. Rejection, in this context, becomes a sign of opportunity, a chance to grow stronger, wiser, and more aligned with our values and purpose. The underdog accepts their position, not as a reason to despair, but as a starting point for self-mastery and fulfillment. Number 4. Reject the need for external validation. The Stoic philosophy teaches us that the pursuit of external validation is a form of attachment that leads to unnecessary suffering. External validation, seeking approval, recognition, or admiration from others, stems from the belief that our worth is tied to how others perceive us. However, this mindset creates a cycle of dependence that ultimately robs us of freedom and tranquility. From a Stoic perspective, rejecting the need for external validation is essential for living a life of integrity, authenticity, and inner peace. The Stoics remind us that our worth is not determined by the opinions of others, but by how we respond to life's challenges and align ourselves with virtue. Seeking external validation often arises from a fear of rejection and a desire to be accepted. We are driven to conform to societal expectations, to meet external standards of success, and to achieve recognition, believing that these external markers will validate our worth. However, the Stoics argue that such validation is fleeting and ultimately hollow. If we base our self-worth on the approval of others, we become prisoners to their opinions, and our happiness becomes contingent on forces beyond our control. The Stoic understands that this dependence on external validation is a form of slavery to others' judgments. By rejecting the need for external validation, we liberate ourselves from the chains of comparison, competition, and approval-seeking behavior. In place of external validation, the Stoics advocate for a focus on what is within our control, our actions, character, and responses. True virtue, they argue, comes from living according to our values and principles, not from seeking the admiration of others. The Stoic reframes self-worth not as something that can be measured by external achievements or accolades, but as something intrinsic to our own efforts and character. By detaching from the need for validation, we can pursue our goals with authenticity and purpose, free from the anxiety of others' opinions. Rejection of the need for external validation allows us to cultivate a sense of inner freedom. When we let go of our attachment to others' approval, we reduce the power they hold over us. We are no longer defined by how others perceive us, but by how we perceive ourselves and the integrity of our own character. The Stoic sees this inner alignment as a source of true strength and peace. It is not external recognition, but our own judgment of our actions that holds true value. The Stoic understands that we cannot control the opinions or judgments of others, but we can control how we act, how we respond to life's challenges, and how we cultivate virtue. Furthermore, by rejecting the need for external validation, we free ourselves from the endless pursuit of perfection. The desire for validation often leads us to set unrealistic standards for ourselves, standards that are rarely achievable and always dependent on the judgments of others. The Stoic knows that striving for perfection for the sake of external approval is a form of attachment that creates unnecessary suffering. Instead, they advocate for progress and growth, focusing on personal improvement rather than on meeting external expectations. The Stoic recognizes that failure, rejection, and setbacks are an inevitable part of life, and these experiences do not diminish our worth. On the contrary, they provide opportunities for learning and growth. The rejection of external validation also allows us to embrace our imperfections and limitations with equanimity. When we seek approval from others, we often feel the pressure to present an image of perfection, one that aligns with their expectations. However, the Stoic knows that perfection is an illusion. By accepting our flaws and limitations, we gain a deeper understanding of our true nature. Acceptance of our imperfections enables us to live authentically without the need to meet unrealistic and external standards. This self-acceptance becomes a foundation for growth and self-improvement, as we are free to focus on becoming the best version of ourselves without the distraction of others' expectations. Moreover, rejecting the need for external validation fosters resilience. When we are no longer dependent on the approval of others, we become less susceptible to the setbacks and criticisms that life inevitably presents. Rejection, failure, and adversity no longer have the power to define our worth because our sense of value is no longer tied to external outcomes. The Stoic recognizes that the path to resilience is forged through the acceptance of what lies outside of our control and the unwavering commitment to our own values and principles. By focusing on what is within our control, our actions, character, and responses, we develop the strength to endure challenges without being crippled by the fear of judgment or rejection. Number 5. Learn from rejection to improve. Rejection, though often painful, offers invaluable lessons that are crucial for personal growth and improvement. From a Stoic perspective, rejection is not a reflection of our worth or abilities, but rather an opportunity to cultivate wisdom and resilience. The Stoics emphasize that life's setbacks and failures are not meant to defeat us, but to refine our character and enhance our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Rejection, when embraced with the right mindset, becomes a teacher, one that helps us identify weaknesses, redefine our approach, and ultimately improve. When we experience rejection, our natural tendency is often to view it as a reflection of failure. However, the Stoic teaches us to shift our perspective, recognizing that rejection is a necessary and inevitable part of life. It is not a sign that we are incapable or unworthy, but rather an indicator that we need to grow and adapt. The Stoic understands that growth is rarely linear, and setbacks are often essential milestones on the journey towards self-mastery. When we are rejected, we are given the opportunity to examine what went wrong, what could have been done differently, and how we can adjust our approach moving forward. This process of reflection and learning is what ultimately leads to improvement. One of the key lessons from rejection is the understanding that outcomes are often beyond our control, but our responses are within our grasp. The Stoic focuses on what lies within their control, such as their effort, their attitude, and their pursuit of virtue, rather than on the external validation or approval that rejection often implies. When we are rejected, it forces us to confront our own limitations and to accept that there are aspects of life we cannot entirely dictate or influence. However, by focusing on what we can control, our actions, decisions, and mindset, we empower ourselves to learn, grow, and improve. Rejection also encourages a deeper self-awareness. Often, we fail to see our own blind spots or limitations until we are met with resistance. Rejection, in this sense, acts as a mirror that reflects our weaknesses, assumptions, and mistakes. It provides feedback that is crucial for identifying areas in which we need to develop or improve. The Stoic embraces this self-awareness, understanding that knowing our own limitations allows us to set realistic expectations and strive for improvement in a focused, disciplined manner. Rather than retreating into self-doubt or insecurity, the Stoic responds to rejection by asking, "What can I learn from this? How can I become better as a result?" The answers to these questions often lead to the refinement of skills, the adoption of new strategies, and the development of greater resilience. Moreover, rejection forces us to reassess our goals and aspirations. Often, rejection reveals that our expectations were either unrealistic or misaligned with our values and desires. The Stoic understands that goals must be pursued with intentionality and aligned with virtue rather than external validation. When we face rejection, we are presented with an opportunity to re-evaluate whether our goals are truly in line with what is meaningful and purposeful to us. The Stoic encourages us to set goals that are within our control and aligned with our values, rather than chasing after outcomes that depend on factors outside of our influence. Rejection becomes a guide, helping us refine our direction and focus on pursuits that are not only achievable, but also aligned with our core beliefs and values. Additionally, rejection encourages us to build resilience and fortitude. The Stoic recognizes that setbacks are not merely obstacles, but essential components of a life of virtue. Resilience, from a Stoic perspective, is the ability to endure hardship, accept setbacks, and emerge stronger. When we are rejected, we face an initial wave of discomfort, frustration, and even anger, but the Stoic uses these emotions as signals to grow. Rejection teaches us to endure setbacks with equanimity, to respond to adversity with reason, and to embrace challenges as opportunities to build mental toughness. Rather than being defeated by rejection, the Stoic learns to embrace it as a crucial part of their journey towards self-improvement. Rejection also reveals the importance of adaptation and flexibility. Life rarely unfolds as we expect, and part of our growth requires us to adjust to new circumstances. When we face rejection, it becomes clear that our original approach may not have been effective or sustainable. The Stoic encourages us to be flexible, to re-evaluate our methods, and to be willing to experiment with new strategies. Rejection teaches us that persistence is not about stubbornly pursuing the same approach, but about recognizing when it's time to change course. The underdog mindset, which the Stoic often adopts, thrives in the face of rejection because it embraces trial and error as essential steps toward mastery. In this way, Rejection serves as a powerful catalyst for self-improvement. It compels us to identify our weaknesses, adjust our expectations, and refine our approaches. The Stoic teaches us that growth is not about avoiding failure or rejection, but about embracing them as opportunities for transformation. Through the lens of Stoicism, rejection is seen not as an endpoint, but as a stepping stone toward greater wisdom, resilience, and self-mastery. By focusing on what we can control and learning from our setbacks, we cultivate a mindset that is not only more resilient, but also more aligned with our values and principles. Rejection, when viewed through this Stoic framework, becomes a vital part of our personal evolution, one that ultimately leads to greater strength, wisdom, and peace. Number 6. Let rejection be a catalyst for greater purpose. Rejection, although often perceived as a discouraging and painful experience, holds the potential to become a powerful catalyst for deeper purpose and meaning in life. From a Stoic perspective, rejection is not an endpoint, but rather an invitation to reflect, grow, and realign ourselves with what truly matters. The Stoics teach us that it is our response to rejection, rather than the rejection itself, that defines our character and guides us toward greater purpose. By embracing rejection as a source of wisdom and growth, we begin to see it as a necessary part of the journey towards self-mastery and fulfillment. One of the key Stoic principles is the idea that we should focus on what is within our control. When we experience rejection, much of our suffering stems from the belief that we have been wronged or that external outcomes should have turned out differently. However, the Stoic encourages us to detach from the uncontrollable aspects of life, such as the judgments, opinions, or circumstances that may have led to rejection, and instead turn our attention to what we can control: our actions, our responses, and our mindset. Rejection, when approached with this perspective, becomes a moment of reflection on our own virtues, efforts, and growth potential. By letting go of the need to control external outcomes, we are free to focus on refining ourselves and our purpose, rather than lamenting what is beyond our grasp. Rejection forces us to confront the reality that our current path may not align with our deeper values or long-term goals. Often we pursue achievements or validations that, in the end, do not bring us true fulfillment. The Stoic understands that this misalignment between our desires and what we ultimately value can lead to disappointment and rejection. However, rejection provides the opportunity to reassess our goals and purpose. It asks us to reflect on whether we are chasing after something that will provide lasting meaning or merely fleeting external rewards. When we experience rejection, we are called to pause and consider if we are pursuing goals that are aligned with virtue, integrity, and a sense of higher purpose. By confronting rejection, we gain clarity on what truly matters and what aligns with our deeper sense of purpose, helping us to redirect our efforts toward pursuits that contribute to our long-term well-being and fulfillment. Furthermore, rejection often reveals the areas in which we need to grow, develop, and improve. The Stoic teaches that rejection is not a sign of our unworthiness, but rather an opportunity for self-improvement. When we experience rejection, we are confronted with the reality that we may lack certain skills, knowledge, or perspectives that are necessary to succeed. This awareness encourages us to cultivate wisdom, self-discipline, and perseverance, qualities that are essential for genuine growth and development. The rejection itself becomes a teacher, prompting us to refine our approaches, seek feedback, and adopt new strategies. By embracing these lessons, we build resilience and a deeper understanding of our capabilities, all of which contribute to a greater sense of purpose and self-mastery. Moreover, rejection often helps us to strengthen our character and cultivate a deeper sense of resilience. The Stoic sees rejection as a necessary part of life's journey, one that builds mental fortitude and encourages us to endure adversity with equanimity. Rejection forces us to confront discomfort, failure, and setbacks without allowing them to define our worth. By accepting that rejection is an inevitable part of life, we become more adaptable and less attached to external outcomes. The Stoic realizes that it is not the rejection itself that matters, but how we respond to it. When we adopt a resilient mindset, rejection becomes an opportunity to develop a greater sense of purpose and inner strength. We begin to see setbacks not as defeats, but as stepping stones toward deeper self-awareness and personal development. Additionally, rejection often clarifies our sense of purpose by stripping away distractions and revealing what truly matters. In a world filled with superficial goals, external validations, and fleeting ambitions, rejection has the potential to lead us to what is truly significant. The Stoic encourages us to focus on what is within our control, our character, our virtues, and our contributions to others. When we face rejection, we are often forced to let go of distractions and false pursuits, creating space for what truly aligns with our values and purpose. Rejection, in this sense, serves as a filter that helps us identify what is truly worth our attention, energy, and effort. It allows us to realign ourselves with pursuits that contribute to a meaningful and virtuous life, rather than being driven by shallow desires for recognition or approval. Finally, rejection compels us to embrace a broader sense of purpose that extends beyond ourselves. The Stoic understands that true fulfillment comes not from self-centered pursuits, but from living a life that serves others and contributes to the greater good. When we experience rejection, it can often detach us from self-focused desires and encourage a shift toward service, contribution, and alignment with a higher purpose. Rejection helps us recognize that our worth is not tied to the opinions or achievements of others, but rather to how we contribute to the lives of those around us. By letting go of the pursuit of external validation, we create space for a deeper sense of purpose, one that is rooted in virtue, compassion, and service. In conclusion, rejection, when approached through the lens of Stoic philosophy, becomes a powerful catalyst for discovering greater purpose. The Stoic teaches that rejection is not a reflection of our worth, but rather an opportunity for growth, self-awareness, and realignment with what truly matters. By focusing on what is within our control, learning from our setbacks, and embracing rejection as a necessary part of life, we cultivate resilience, purpose, and a deeper understanding of ourselves. Rejection, when embraced with the right mindset, becomes a guiding force that leads us toward a life of meaning, authenticity, and lasting fulfillment.